A single blue garter holds the key to a 670-year-old secret. What mysteries lie within the world's oldest order of chivalry? King Edward III founded the Order of the Garter in 1348, and its most vital ceremonies remain locked away from public view. By the end of this, you will understand the hidden rituals and symbols that sustain this powerful medieval institution. We will uncover why a fallen lady's garter became a knightly emblem and what solemn oaths are whispered inside the throne room. This is not just a history lesson, it is a journey into a living, breathing enigma. What does true loyalty look like when bound by centuries of tradition? That single blue garter appeared at a moment of high court scandal. During a grand ball in 1348, the Countess of Salisbury, a lady of great esteem, was dancing when her garter, a simple silk strap holding up her stocking, slipped from her leg and fell to the floor. A hush fell over the crowd and snickers began to spread among the nobles, turning the lady's moment of embarrassment into a public spectacle. But King Edward III moved swiftly. He strode across the floor, picked up the garter and tied it around his own knee. He then looked the murmuring courtiers in the eye and uttered the phrase that would echo for centuries. "Honi soit qui mal vi pense," he declared. "Shame on him who thinks evil of this." Was this purely an act of gallantry, a king protecting a lady's honor, or was it something far more calculated? Some historians see a brilliant political maneuver. By reclaiming the narrative, the king transformed a symbol of potential impropriety into one of unshakable loyalty. He demonstrated that his court was above petty gossip, that true honor lay in the intentions of the group, not in the accidental failings of an individual. Others argue the entire event was a masterstroke of propaganda, a crafted legend designed to unite his knights under a single, powerful emblem. The garter itself, an intimate item of clothing, was reborn. It became a symbol of the bond between the sovereign and his most trusted men, a circle of fidelity that no scandal could break. It represented a vow, a commitment so strong that it could transform a moment of shame into the very foundation of the world's most enduring chivalric order. With the garter's symbolic power firmly established, the king began to assemble his inner circle. Edward III did not choose his first knights at random. He selected 25 of the most formidable men in his kingdom, with his own son, Edward the Black Prince, at the very forefront. These were not merely nobles with impressive titles. They were his most trusted military commanders, men who had fought beside him in the early campaigns of the 100 Years' War. This was the king's strategic masterstroke. The Order of the Garter was at its heart a carefully constructed loyalist faction, bound not just by feudal obligation but by a sacred oath and a shared symbol. By limiting the order to the sovereign and just 25 knights companion, Edward created an exclusive club of the most powerful men in the realm. Think of it as the ultimate inner circle, a brotherhood where the lines between personal loyalty, political power, and military command were completely blurred. Membership was a mark of unparalleled favor, but it also came with immense responsibility. These 26 men were the king's handpicked council, his battlefield elite, and his political bedrock all rolled into one. This deliberate scarcity, this absolute exclusivity, is precisely what fueled the order's enduring mystery and allure. To be on the outside was to wonder what secrets, what strategies, and what solemn promises were exchanged within that closed circle. How did it feel to be one of the chosen few, to wear that blue garter and know you held a piece of the kingdom's very soul? This inner circle needed a spiritual home, a fortress for its sacred rituals. That home was built within the walls of Windsor Castle, a place known as St. George's Chapel. More than just a church, this chapel is the very heart and soul of the Order of the Garter. Its grand Gothic arches reach for the heavens, a stone forest of intricate fan vaulting that seems to defy gravity itself. This breathtaking architecture was designed to inspire awe, to remind every knight that their duties were both earthly and divine. The entire space is consecrated to their patron saint, Saint George, the legendary dragon slayer who embodies the ideals of courage and chivalry. Every major ceremony, from the grand processions to the most solemn installations, unfolds within these hallowed walls. But the true magic of the chapel lies in its unique arrangement. Lining the choir are individual wooden stalls, one for every single knight of the order, past and present. Imagine walking down that aisle and seeing history made tangible. Each stall is permanently assigned to a specific knight, adorned with his personal banner, his elaborate heraldic crest, and his own sword. When a knight passes away, his insignia remains, a silent tribute to his enduring legacy. This creates an unbroken chain, a physical connection to every member who has ever taken the oath. You are not just a new knight taking your seat, you are stepping into a story 670 years long, surrounded by the spectral presence of kings, warriors, and statesmen. Their banners hang overhead, a faded tapestry of honor, whispering of loyalty that outlasts a single lifetime. Each year, the ancient stone walls of Windsor Castle bear witness to a living pageant of power. The Garter Day procession transforms the castle grounds into a stage for a tradition that has unfolded for centuries. On this day, the secretive order steps into the sunlight, allowing the world a brief, magnificent glimpse into its world. The knights and ladies' companion emerge in their full regalia, a breathtaking sight of medieval splendor meticulously preserved. They wear heavy blue velvet mantles, the deep color symbolizing their loyalty, draped over elaborate Tudor costumes. Upon their heads sit plumed hats, each white ostrich feather nodding with every deliberate step. And of course, on every left leg, just below the knee, is the namesake of the order, the dark blue velvet garter itself, bearing its golden motto for all to see. The procession moves with a solemn, unhurried rhythm, following a precise and unchangeable order. The junior members lead the way, with the longest-serving knights and the sovereign at the very rear, a visual representation of ascending seniority and ultimate authority. They are flanked by the military knights of Windsor, retired army officers who reside at the castle, acting as both a guard of honor and a living bridge between the order's storied past and its present-day role. This entire spectacle is intensely public, with crowds lining the routes to witness the vibrant parade of history. It is a masterful display, a performance of continuity that reinforces monarchical authority in the modern era. The message is clear and powerful. While governments change and societies evolve, this institution, bound by its ancient oath and its blue garter, remains a constant, unshakable pillar. But this public spectacle is merely the outer shell. What happens when the great oak doors of St. George's Chapel swing shut and the knights are alone with their secrets? Behind those great oak doors lies the true crucible of the order, a ritual so private that its full details have never been recorded. The public procession gives way to the secret installation, a ceremony held within the confines of the throne room at Windsor Castle. This is the moment where a new member is truly bound to the ancient brotherhood, far from the watching eyes of the world and the flashing cameras of the media. Only the sovereign, the current knight's companion, and the new initiate are present. Imagine the weight of that silence, broken only by the rustle of blue velvet mantles and the crackle of the hearth. The monarch presides from the throne, a living link to Edward III himself, while the assembled knights form a circle of judgment and acceptance. Here, the new knight must kneel and recite the sacred oath, its exact words a closely guarded secret. We know it involves a solemn promise of loyalty to the sovereign and to the order's laws, a vow that transcends politics and personal ambition. What symbolic actions accompany this pledge? Does the sovereign touch the initiate's shoulder with a sword? Is the blue garter placed upon his leg in this very room? These are the mysteries sealed within those walls. This fierce secrecy is not about elitism, but about preserving the sanctity of a bond. By shielding the ritual from public view, the order protects the raw, unperformed nature of the commitment. It ensures that the promise made is between the individual, their monarch, and their peers, utterly pure and free from external spectacle. The power of the Order of the Garter does not come from its public parades, but from the whispered words in that silent room, words meant for no one else to hear. The words spoken in that sealed room carry the weight of centuries. While the complete Garter oath remains a secret, we have fragments from historical accounts that reveal its profound and binding nature. This was not a simple pledge of loyalty, it was a sacred vow that entwined a knight's life with the sovereign and his fellow companions. He swore to uphold the honor of the order, to be a faithful servant to the monarch, and to defend the realm against all enemies. This oath was the very bedrock of chivalric virtue, demanding unwavering courage, justice, and protection for the weak. It transformed a political appointment into a spiritual and lifelong bond. Think of the gravity in that room, the pressure of the moment as a new knight knelt and gave his word. What does it mean to promise your entire being, not just your military service, to an ideal? This commitment was so absolute that breaking it was considered one of the gravest acts imaginable. The consequences were severe and absolute, stripping a knight of his status and casting him out from the brotherhood. Expulsion from the Order of the Garter was a public and shattering disgrace, a mark of dishonor that resonated through history, proving that the words whispered in secret were stronger than any public declaration. This oath was the invisible thread holding the entire institution together, a promise so powerful it could forge an unbreakable chain of loyalty spanning generations. The profound silence of the oath gives way to a ceremony of powerful symbols. In the investiture, abstract vows are made tangible through a series of physical objects, each one rich with meaning. The first and most essential item bestowed is the garter itself. A new knight kneels, and the sovereign fastens the dark blue velvet strap around his left leg just below the knee. This simple act is the very heart of the ritual. The garter is not merely decorative, it is a continuous, tactile reminder of the bond formed in that room, a circle of fidelity uniting the knight to his sovereign and to every other member of the order. It is a literal and figurative tie that binds, a promise worn on the body. Next comes the mantle, a long, flowing robe of deep blue velvet. This heavy garment, lined with white silk, is a mantle of both honor and purity. Its color symbolizes loyalty, a constant visual echo of the knight's unwavering commitment. But the weight of the fabric is also a reminder of the burden of responsibility that comes with such high status. To wear the mantle is to accept the weight of centuries of tradition and the expectation of chivalric conduct. It is a shield of honor meant to protect the wearer from the stains of dishonorable action. Then the collar is placed around the knight's shoulders. This is no ordinary chain. It is a heavy, golden collar composed of 26 alternating knots and red roses, each rose enclosed within the garter itself. The knots symbolize the eternal, unbreakable bond of the fellowship, a bond that cannot be undone. The roses represent England, the homeland the knights are sworn to defend. This collar is a constant physical weight, a deliberate reminder that loyalty is not always a light or easy burden to carry. It is worn on all formal occasions, a gleaming declaration of one's place in this ancient circle. Finally, the knight receives two badges. The first is the star, a radiant, multi-pointed silver emblem meant to be worn on the left breast. It shines as a public symbol of the order's ideals, a gleaming beacon of chivalry for all to see. The second, and perhaps most potent, is the George. This is a pendant badge, a miniature work of art depicting St. George, the order's patron, in the final, triumphant moment of slaying the dragon. This is not just a piece of jewelry, it is a powerful allegory worn close to the heart. The dragon represents chaos, evil, and the enemies of the realm. St. George represents courage, faith, and the ultimate triumph of good. To wear the George is to carry a personal, silent pledge to embody that victory in one's own life and service. Each piece of regalia, from the garter on the leg to the George over the heart, forms a complete armor of symbolic duty. But what happens when a knight fails to live up to the immense weight of these symbols? What shadow falls upon this brilliant display of honor? Yet this armor of symbols requires a spiritual anchor, a voice to consecrate the vows and ground the order's martial power in divine purpose. This vital role belongs to the prelate of the order, an office always held by the Bishop of Winchester. While the sovereign leads the fellowship, the prelate tends to its soul. His presence is a constant reminder that the blue garter represents more than just earthly loyalty. It is a pledge made before God. In every major ceremony, from the grand procession to the most secretive rites within St. George's Chapel, the prelate stands as a central figure. He leads the prayers, blesses the new knights, and offers spiritual counsel, ensuring the rituals are not merely political formalities but true sacred observances. This role perfectly embodies the dual nature of the Order of the Garter itself, a unique blend of martial chivalry and deep Christian faith. The knights are bound by oaths of military service and feudal duty, yet their ultimate guide is the legend of St. George, a saint who triumphed through faith as much as force. The prelate is the living embodiment of this connection, the spiritual rudder that steers the order's immense temporal power toward a higher purpose. He ensures that the weight of the golden collar and the promise of the garter are not just about service to a crown, but about upholding a code of virtue that transcends any single reign. Without this spiritual dimension, the order would be just another elite club. With the prelate's guidance, it becomes a sacred brotherhood, its ceremonies a bridge between the throne room and the divine. But what happens when a knight's time in that hallowed stall comes to an end? The banners are taken down, the crest is removed, yet a part of them remains forever etched in brass. Affixed to the back of each wooden stall in St. George's Chapel is a small, silent witness to history, the Garter plate. This is not a simple nameplate. It is an elaborate, engraved piece of brass, a true work of heraldic art, bearing the full coat of arms and formal style of the knight who once occupied that seat. When a new member is installed, a craftsman meticulously creates their unique plate, a permanent emblem of their identity within the order. For the duration of their life, this plate rests behind them, a gleaming backdrop to their presence. But when the knight passes away, a profound transformation occurs. His vibrant banner, his ornate crest, and his personal sword are ceremonially removed from the stall. The space is cleared, made ready for his successor, yet the brass plate is never taken down. It remains fixed in place, a permanent record of a life sworn to service. Walk through the choir of the chapel today, and you can run your fingers along these cool metal surfaces. You are touching a physical timeline, a cumulative history of the entire order. Here is the plate of Sir Winston Churchill, their one belonging to a medieval duke who fought at Agincourt. Each plate is a frozen moment, a story sealed in metal. They are not arranged by date but by stall, creating a rich, non-linear tapestry. This means a knight from the 21st century sits directly beneath the plate of a founding member from the 1300s. The past and present are in constant, silent conversation. This tradition answers a deeply human need for permanence. The vibrant regalia of a knight is fleeting, a celebration of a living career. But the Garter plate is for eternity. It ensures that while a knight's voice may fall silent, his name and his oath are never erased from the fellowship. He takes his place in an unbroken line, his small, shining plate adding another link to a chain 670 years long. Yet even the most solemn ceremonies require a figure to enforce their ancient protocols. Alongside the spiritual guidance of the prelate stands a far more formidable officer, the Usher of the Black Rod. This title is not merely ceremonial, it carries the weight of tangible authority. The black rod is both the name of the officer and the object he carries, a staff of ebony wood topped with a golden lion. His primary duty is to maintain order during all proceedings of the order, acting as the sovereign's chief enforcer of protocol within the sacred space of St. George's Chapel. Imagine the scene during the grand procession or the secret installation. The black rod is the one who ensures every knight is in his proper place, that the ritual unfolds with flawless precision, and that the dignity of the occasion remains utterly unbroken. He is the guardian of tradition, a living embodiment of the rules that have governed this brotherhood for centuries, but his responsibilities extend far beyond the walls of Windsor. The Usher of the Black Rod holds a second, profoundly important role within the British Parliament. He serves as the sovereign's personal messenger to the House of Lords. This is where history comes alive in a dramatic annual spectacle. During the state opening of Parliament, the Black Rod is commanded to summon the members of the House of Commons to the Lord's Chamber to hear the Queen's speech. But tradition dictates a symbolic act of independence. As the usher approaches the door to the Commons, it is slammed shut in his face. He must then strike the door 3 times with his ebony staff before it is opened, and he can deliver the sovereign's command. This ritual reenacts the Commons' historic right to deny entry to the monarch's representative, a powerful reminder of the separation of powers. In this single figure, the Usher of the Black Rod, we see the order's deep connection to the very machinery of the state. He is a human bridge between the medieval world of chivalric ritual and the modern workings of constitutional government. His duties weave together the sacred oath of the Garter with the secular laws of the land. Other officers, like the Garter King of Arms, add further layers to this intricate structure. As the order's principal herald, he is the supreme authority on all matters of genealogy and coat of arms, the one who officially proclaims new knights and ensures their symbols are correctly integrated into the order's visual tapestry. Together, these officers form a permanent professional backbone. While the knights themselves may change over time, the Black Rod, the Garter King of Arms, and the prelate provide continuity. They are the keepers of the flame, the administrators of the mystery, ensuring that the order's ancient rhythms continue to beat century after century. But how does this ancient institution, with its officers and its secret oaths, navigate the complexities of the modern world? What happens when timeless tradition meets the relentless pressure of change? Within the private gatherings of the order, a glass is raised to a man who has been dust for over 600 years. This is the loyal toast, a ritual centered on one specific phrase, the immortal memory. Knights and ladies companion lift their glasses not to the current sovereign, but to the founder himself, King Edward III. It is a direct, symbolic bridge across the centuries. Think of the power in that simple act. They are not merely honoring a historical figure. They are reaffirming the very moment of creation, that pivotal instant when a fallen Garter was transformed into an emblem of honor. The toast binds every member, from the newest appointee to the longest-serving royal, to the original vision of chivalric brotherhood. It is a pledge that the founder's intention, his brilliant political and spiritual design, remains the living heart of the institution. This is why it is called the immortal memory. Edward III is not truly gone because his idea, his order, continues to breathe and function. By drinking to his memory, the knights are not looking backward. They are drinking to their own ongoing purpose, to the timeless nature of the loyalty they swore. It is a ritual that collapses time, making the 14th century as real and present as the 21st within the confines of their fellowship. In that shared sip of wine, the past is not a distant story, but a silent, active partner at the table. After the solemn silence of the chapel, the atmosphere would erupt into a symphony of opulence and camaraderie. The secret ceremonies and public processions culminated in a grand medieval banquet, a feast designed to overwhelm the senses and cement the bonds of fellowship. Held within the vast torch-lit halls of Windsor Castle, These gatherings were a deliberate display of the sovereign's immense wealth and generosity. Long tables groaned under the weight of staggering quantities of food, a multi-course spectacle of roasted swans, peacocks redressed in their own iridescent feathers, whole sturgeon, and endless streams of fine wine. The sheer abundance was a powerful message, a performance of patronage that reinforced each night's value to the monarch and by extension to the realm. But this was not a chaotic free-for-all. Every aspect of the feast was governed by a rigid order of precedence, a visible map of the order's hierarchy. Seating arrangements were meticulously planned, with the most senior knights and the sovereign at the high table, elevated above the rest. This careful placement was a constant, subtle reminder of one's rank within the brotherhood, ensuring that even in celebration, the structure of loyalty remained intact. Servants moved with precision, serving dishes in a specific sequence that honored this sacred chain of command. Why such formality at a party? Because these banquets were far more than just meals. They were the crucible where the companionship of the knight's companion was forged and tempered. Away from the public eye and the weighty solemnity of the chapel, the knights could converse, share stories, and build the personal trust that made their political and military alliance unbreakable. The shared feast, the clinking of goblets, the laughter echoing off stone walls, these were the experiences that transformed a group of powerful individuals into a true band of brothers. The banquet table was where the abstract vow of loyalty became a tangible reality, sealed not just with an oath but with bread, salt, and wine. But even the most ancient traditions are not carved in stone. The rituals of the Garter have weathered the storms of history, bending and shifting to survive while fiercely guarding their core of secrecy. From the medieval piety of its founding, the order faced its first great test during the English Reformation. When King Henry VIII broke from the Church of Rome, the entire spiritual foundation of the Order of the Garter was thrown into question. Its ceremonies were deeply Catholic, centered on masses and prayers to saints. How could an order consecrated to St. George function in a new Protestant England? The solution was not abolition but adaptation. The Latin masses were translated into English. The role of the prelate evolved, and the religious observances were carefully reformed to align with the new state church. This demonstrated a remarkable pragmatism. The outer forms of worship could change to suit the times, but the inner vow of loyalty to the sovereign remained absolute and untouched. This ability to adapt was tested again during the English Civil War, a conflict that saw the monarchy itself abolished. For a time, the Order of the Garter ceased to function. Its sovereign, King Charles I, was executed. Yet when the monarchy was restored, so too was the order, as if it had only been sleeping. Its revival proved that its idea was more resilient than any single ruler or government. The rituals were reinstated, not as hollow replicas, but with a renewed emphasis on their power to heal a fractured kingdom and restore a sense of ancient continuity. Perhaps the most significant evolution in the modern era has been the gradual inclusion of women. For over 600 years, the fellowship was an exclusively male brotherhood. That changed in 1901 when King Edward VII made his wife, Queen Alexandra, a Lady of the Garter. This was not a full membership but an honorary affiliation. The true barrier broke in 1987 when Queen Elizabeth II appointed Lavinia, Duchess of Norfolk, as the first woman to be a full member in her own right, a lady companion equal in every way to a knight companion. This was a quiet revolution, a profound update to a medieval institution. The regalia itself has seen subtle shifts. The heavy velvet mantles have been slightly lightened, the plumed hats adjusted for modern comfort, yet every symbolic element remains intact. The Garter, the Star, the George all retain their original meaning. This is the enduring paradox of the Order of the Garter. Its outward forms evolve, its membership broadens, but the secret heart of the institution, the whispered oath in the throne room, remains as guarded as it was in 1348. The mystery does not die, it simply learns to wear new clothes. The blue garter was always a political masterstroke. King Edward III did not create a fellowship of saints, he forged a weapon of state. From its very inception, the Order of the Garter was a brilliant mechanism for centralizing royal power. In an age of fractious barons and shifting feudal loyalties, the king needed a group of men bound to him by something stronger than land or title. He needed an oath, a sacred vow that placed loyalty to the crown above all else. By limiting membership to just 26 individuals, including himself, Edward made the Garter the most exclusive and desirable honor in the land. To be offered a place was to be invited into the king's absolute confidence. It was a reward that cost the treasury very little in gold, but paid immeasurable dividends in political stability. The knights gained immense prestige, and in return, the king gained their unwavering military support and political allegiance. This was not a charitable institution. It was the ultimate loyalty program, designed to bind the most powerful men in England directly and personally to the throne. That power to bestow this honor remains one of the monarch's most significant personal prerogatives. Unlike many state decisions made on the advice of ministers, appointments to the Order of the Garter are a matter of sovereign choice. This is not a democratic process, it is an act of royal favor, pure and simple. Think of the immense soft power this represents. The monarch holds the key to a club that transcends politics, a fellowship that signifies a lifetime of service to the nation. To be appointed is to receive a mark of approval from the crown itself, a validation that echoes around the world. This power allows the sovereign to shape the order, to honor individuals whose lives embody the chivalric ideals, whether they are prime ministers, military leaders, or philanthropists. It is a tool for recognizing and reinforcing the values the monarchy wishes to promote. In a single appointment, the monarch can express gratitude, strengthen a vital relationship, and demonstrate the enduring relevance of this ancient tradition. The Garter is not a relic, it is a living instrument of influence, a quiet but potent reminder that the crown still holds the ultimate token of esteem. What does it mean when a monarch's most personal gift is not land or treasure, but a simple blue ribbon? That blue garter soon became a diplomatic prize, its allure stretching far beyond the shores of England. The Order of the Garter was never meant to be a purely domestic affair. From its earliest days, King Edward III began appointing stranger knights, foreign monarchs, and princes who were welcomed into the fellowship. This was a stroke of genius, transforming a loyalist brotherhood into a powerful tool of international statecraft. To be offered the Garter was to receive the highest possible mark of respect from the English crown, a gesture that could cement an alliance, smooth over a diplomatic dispute, or draw a potential rival into a web of mutual obligation. Imagine a French king or a Spanish prince accepting this most English of honors. By wearing the blue velvet garter, they were not just adorning themselves, they were aligning their personal prestige with that of the English sovereign. This created a unique class of members, stranger knights and ladies, who stood alongside the 26 knights companion, bound by the same chivalric ideals but serving a grander geopolitical purpose. Throughout history, this honor has been bestowed upon some of the world's most powerful figures. In the 15th century, the Holy Roman Emperor Sigismund was inducted, his membership helping to secure a crucial ally against France. Centuries later, during the turmoil of the Napoleonic Wars, Tsar Alexander I of Russia became a stranger knight, a clear signal of a united front against a common enemy. More recently, figures like Emperor Hirohito of Japan and King Juan Carlos of Spain have received the Garter, their appointments carefully timed to strengthen post-war reconciliations and bolster modern diplomatic ties. These were not merely symbolic gestures, they were calculated moves on the global chessboard, where a piece of blue velvet could be as potent as a battalion of soldiers. The invitation itself carries an implicit question, an unspoken challenge. Will you join our circle of honor? To refuse would be a profound insult, but to accept is to be woven into the fabric of British royal tradition. What does it mean for a global elite to be bound by this ancient oath? The continued appointment of stranger knights and ladies demonstrates the order's astonishing adaptability and its enduring soft power. In an age of rapid communication and shifting alliances, the Garter remains a unique currency of prestige. When a foreign head of state dons the mantle and collar, they are participating in a ritual that has remained fundamentally unchanged for centuries. This shared experience, this momentary step outside of modern politics into a realm of medieval pageantry, forges a personal connection that official state visits can never achieve. It creates a private channel, a fellowship that exists above the daily fray of international relations. The order becomes a silent, global network, its members linked by a common symbol and a shared, secret vow. This web of connections, spun over 670 years, continues to elevate the British monarchy's influence, positioning it not just as a national institution, but as a central pillar in the architecture of global tradition and diplomacy. The Circle of the Garter is a small one, but its shadow stretches across the entire world. Yet that gleaming circle of honor has a shadow side, a line that, once crossed, leads to a singular and devastating fate. For all its talk of unbreakable bonds, the Order of the Garter holds a final, brutal sanction, the power to expel a member. This is not a quiet retirement, it is a public erasure, a ritual of disgrace that reverses every sacred ceremony. The process is as solemn as the installation. The sovereign and the knight's companion assemble in the chapter room of St. George's Chapel. The accused member's banner, crest, and sword are present, but his stall is empty. In a moment of profound gravity, the Garter King of Arms reads aloud the formal accusation. Then, the sovereign himself walks to the knight's stall. He does not simply remove the insignia, he performs a symbolic act of annihilation. The knight's banner is taken down and thrown to the floor. His elaborate crest is physically kicked out of the chapel. Finally, his brass plate, that permanent record of his membership, is pried from the back of his stall, its polished surface scratched and defaced to void the engraved arms. This is not just a removal, it is a destruction of legacy, a violent undoing of the knight's identity within the fellowship. Why such a dramatic and harsh ritual? Because the crime of expulsion is not about a simple mistake, it is about a fundamental betrayal of the oath. It proves that the loyalty sworn in that secret room is the most serious business of all. The threat of this ultimate disgrace has hung over the order for centuries, a stark reminder that the Blue Garter is a privilege, not a right, and throughout history a few have felt its cold weight. During the English Reformation, the order was torn apart by matters of faith and state. Henry VIII expelled several knights who refused to acknowledge his supremacy over the Church of England, their loyalty to the Pope outweighing their vow to the King. In the 17th century, Lord Stanhope was stripped of his garter for his role in a treasonous plot against the crown. Perhaps the most poignant modern example was the expulsion of Emperor Hirohito of Japan in 1941, a diplomatic severance that mirrored the outbreak of war. Each of these acts was a seismic event, a crack in the perfect facade of chivalric unity. They revealed the order not as a fairy tale, but as a human institution, deeply entangled in the political and personal failures of its members. The possibility of expulsion gives the ancient oath its teeth. It transforms the promise of loyalty from a beautiful ideal into a dangerous and enforceable contract. What does it feel like to watch your banner fall to the stone floor, knowing you are forever outside the circle? The 21st century has not dulled the blade of the Garter's mysteries, but it has reframed the questions we ask. Can a 670-year-old institution forged in a world of kings and castles find its place in an era of democracy and digital connection? The most persistent debate circles the very nature of its membership. For centuries, the blue ribbon was almost exclusively reserved for aristocrats, military commanders, and senior politicians. This created a powerful legacy, but also a perception of an impenetrable old boys' club. The quiet revolution of including women as full lady companions was a monumental step, yet the conversation has expanded. Why not a scientist whose discoveries heal millions, or an artist whose work defines a generation, or a community leader who embodies service in its purest form? The argument is not about discarding tradition, but about redefining what chivalry means today. Does true loyalty to the crown and country only manifest in political office or on the battlefield? Or can it be found in a lifetime of quiet dedication to the arts, to innovation, or to social justice? The sovereign's power of appointment is now a lens through which we view the monarchy's own values. Every new knight or lady sends a message about what the establishment deems worthy of its highest honor. The choice to honor a wider range of professions would not dilute the Garter's prestige, but could instead revitalize its symbolic power, demonstrating that excellence and service wear many faces. This is the modern tension. The Order's strength lies in its unchanging rituals, its fierce secrecy, its link to an immutable past, but its survival may depend on its ability to reflect the changing nation it symbolizes. Can the circle of the Garter widen without breaking? The answer lies in the hands of the one who holds the Garter itself, balancing the weight of centuries against the pulse of the present. Music fills the ancient stone vaults of St. George's Chapel, a powerful current of sound that carries the rituals beyond sight and into the soul. The auditory atmosphere of a Garter service is as meticulously crafted as the visual pageantry, with every hymn and anthem chosen to elevate the ceremony into a profound emotional experience. At the heart of this sonic tapestry is the Garter hymn itself, a setting of the Order's Latin motto, Honi soit qui mal vi pens, woven into a majestic piece for choir and organ. As the knights process down the aisle, the swelling chords of this dedicated anthem surround them, transforming the motto from a silent inscription on a garter into a living, breathing declaration that echoes off the very stones. The music is not mere background accompaniment, it is an active participant in the ritual. The deep, resonant tones of the chapel's grand organ provide a foundation, a sonic vibration that you feel in your chest, marking the procession's solemn pace and punctuating moments of prayer and reflection. Alongside the Garter hymn, other staples of the English choral tradition are performed, such as the soaring harmonies of Parry's I Was Glad, a piece traditionally associated with coronations and great state occasions. This careful curation connects the Order's ceremony directly to the most sacred moments of national life. The music serves a dual purpose, amplifying the grandeur for the participants while also providing a structured, emotional guide for the entire service. A quiet, contemplative anthem during the installation rites creates a pocket of intimacy and focus, while a triumphant, full-throated hymn at the conclusion sends the knights back into the world uplifted and reaffirmed. This is not a concert, it is a spiritual and sensory immersion. The combined force of the choir's voices, the organ's power, and the weight of centuries of tradition in the lyrics creates an unforgettable atmosphere, ensuring that the memory of the ceremony is felt as deeply as it is seen. Behind the public spectacle and the sealed ceremonies lies a hidden fortress of history, the royal archives. This is where the paper trail of the Order of the Garter is preserved under lock and key, a collection of documents that could, in theory, hold the answers to our deepest questions. Within these climate-controlled vaults and the ancient library of St. George's Chapel itself, you would find leather-bound ledgers recording every member since 1348. These are not simple lists, but intricate registers noting appointments, dates of installation, and sometimes even the specific heraldic details of a knight's insignia. Alongside them rest the ceremonial statutes, the rule books that have been revised and updated across the centuries, detailing the precise order of procession, the proper vestments for each officer, and the official protocols for every event. Then there is the correspondence, the private letters between sovereigns and their Garter knights, discussing matters of state, personal loyalty, and the internal politics of the fellowship. What secrets might these fragile pages reveal? A letter could hint at the true reason a particular knight was honored, or it might contain a veiled reference to a dispute settled within the private chapter meeting. The statutes could show us exactly how the secret installation ritual has evolved, which words were changed after the Reformation, and which gestures have remained unaltered for 600 years. These documents are the closest we can get to a transcript of the Order's hidden life, yet for every question these archives answer, they deliberately raise another. The most vital elements are conspicuously absent from the public record. You will not find a written copy of the actual installation oath. There is no official transcript of the proceedings inside the throne room. Those words are considered too sacred, too bound by personal honor, to be committed to paper for anyone to read. Their power exists only in the moment they are spoken and in the memory of those who hear them. Furthermore, the minutes from the private chapter meetings where the knights discuss candidates and internal affairs remain sealed for decades, often for 100 years or more. This deliberate omission is what truly fuels the enduring mystery. It means that the heart of the Order of the Garter is not stored in any ledger or locked in any vault. It is a living tradition passed from one knight to the next, a whispered inheritance that resists the permanence of the written word. The archives hold the skeleton of history, but its beating heart remains a secret kept between a sovereign and their chosen companions. That deep blue velvet mantle is more than a royal robe, it is a deliberate statement of loyalty. The color itself is a specific shade known as Garter blue, a rich, dark azure that was historically one of the most expensive dyes to produce. This was a luxury that broadcasted the wealth and status of the Order, but its meaning runs far deeper than opulence. In the language of heraldry, blue represents truth and steadfastness, an unwavering constancy that mirrors a knight's vow to his sovereign. Lining this mantle is not a simple fabric, but pure white taffeta, a brilliant, shimmering white. This is the color of purity and righteousness, symbolizing the moral and spiritual integrity every knight must uphold. The entire ensemble is a walking allegory, a promise worn on the shoulders that the knight's loyalty is true and his conduct is pure. Even the golden cord used to fasten the mantle carries a hidden meaning. Its tassels are not merely decorative, they are designed to resemble the husks of grain, a subtle nod to abundance and the earthly responsibilities of leadership. Every thread, every hue is a piece of a complex visual code. The Garter star, that radiant silver emblem worn on the left breast, is a universe of symbolism in itself. Its 8 points are not all the same. 4 of the rays are depicted as longer, more prominent clusters of shorter rays, while the 4 alternating rays are shorter and simpler. This is not an artistic whim. The longer, more complex rays are often interpreted as representing the 4 cardinal virtues of justice, prudence, temperance, and fortitude. The 4 shorter rays symbolize the 3 theological virtues of faith, hope, and charity, with the 4th representing the chivalric virtue of magnanimity or great-heartedness. At the very center of the star, enclosed within the Garter itself, is the Cross of St. George, a bold red cross on a white field. This places the patron saint's emblem, and by extension the ideals of Christian chivalry and sacrifice, at the absolute heart of the knight's identity. It is a constant, gleaming reminder that their service is a form of secular faith. Then there is the weight of the collar, a golden chain that is heavy with history. Composed of 26 individual links, it alternates between 2 distinct emblems. The first is a stylized knot known as the lover's knot. This is not a simple tangle of gold, but a specific, unbreakable design with no beginning and no end. It is the ultimate symbol of eternal fellowship, a bond that cannot be severed by time or circumstance. The alternating link is a red rose encircled by the Garter. This is not just any rose, it is the Tudor rose, a symbol that post-dates the order's founding but was incorporated to signify unity and the enduring strength of the English monarchy. The red of the rose represents martyrdom and sacrifice, while its enclosure within the Garter reminds the knight that their loyalty to the crown is the framework within which all other duties reside. When a knight dons this collar, he is literally wrapping himself in a chain of unbreakable bonds and royal allegiance. From the specific shade of the blue mantle to the number of rays on the star and the intricate knots of the collar, nothing is arbitrary. Every single element is a loaded symbol, a silent, gleaming sermon on duty, faith, and loyalty that the knight carries with him long after the chapel doors have closed. Even the stones of Windsor Castle seem to remember the knights who walked these halls. Beyond the documented rituals and stately processions lies a shadow world of folklore, where the line between history and legend beautifully blurs. Whispers persist of spectral figures gliding through the castle's oldest corridors, their forms clad in the familiar blue velvet of the Garter mantle. Guards and visitors alike have reported fleeting glimpses of these silent, armored presences in the lower wards or near the Norman Gate, often vanishing around a corner just as they are noticed. The most common tales speak of a distinct chill in the air, a sudden stillness, and the feeling of being watched by an unseen, yet not malevolent, companion. These are not the ghosts of tragedy, but of eternal duty, forever bound to the place where they swore their sacred oath. One persistent story tells of a phantom knight seen within St. George's Chapel itself, kneeling in silent prayer before a stall long after the last living member has departed. Is it the spirit of a founding knight still keeping his vigil, or perhaps a more recent member so devoted to the order that even death could not sever his connection? These encounters are rarely frightening, instead they feel solemn, a quiet echo of a promise that transcends mortality. Such legends are not mere spooky stories, they are a vital part of the Garter's enduring power. They transform the order from a historical institution into a living, breathing entity with a foot in both the past and the present. Every creak of an ancient floorboard or rustle of a tapestry becomes part of its narrative, feeding the cultural imagination. The documented history tells us what the knights did, but the ghost stories tell us how they are remembered. Their commitment so profound it left an indelible mark on the very fabric of the castle. This folklore enriches the aura of the Garter, suggesting that its true membership is not limited to the living, but includes a silent cohort from across the centuries, forever standing watch over their sacred home. The Garter's public pageantry is just one brilliant facet of a much deeper, continuous rhythm. Beyond the grand processions lies a full calendar of private events that sustain the order throughout the year, a quiet pulse of governance and fellowship. The most significant of these are the private chapter meetings convened within the sacred confines of St. George's Chapel. This is where the real business of the institution is conducted, far from public view. The sovereign and the knights and ladies companion gather in a closed session to discuss the order's internal affairs. They review its statutes, manage its finances, and deliberate on the most solemn matter of all, the selection of new members. Imagine the weight of that conversation, a quiet discussion among peers about who is truly worthy of joining their 670-year-old brotherhood. These meetings are the engine room of the Garter, ensuring it functions not as a relic, but as a living, breathing organization with its own rules and responsibilities. This annual cycle begins not with a fanfare, but with a summons. Each member receives a formal notice to attend the chapter meetings and the subsequent ceremonies, a call to duty that has echoed for centuries. The year is punctuated by other, more intimate gatherings, such as the Garter service often held in the autumn. This is a quieter, more reflective occasion than the summer spectacle, focusing on prayer and remembrance within the chapel, often honoring members who have passed away. It reinforces the spiritual foundation of the fellowship without the glare of the public spotlight. Then there are the informal dinners and gatherings, where the bonds of companionship are strengthened over shared meals and conversation. These events are the glue that holds the order together, transforming a formal alliance into genuine camaraderie. The famous Garter Day in June is therefore not an isolated event, but the culmination of this annual rhythm, the public celebration of a private, year-round commitment. This structured calendar reveals the Order of the Garter as a fully realized institution with its own internal logic and governance. It is a society that meets, deliberates, and remembers together, proving that its true life exists not just on the public stage, but in the quiet, consistent beat of its traditions. The future of the Garter rests on a delicate blade, balancing 670 years of tradition against the swift currents of the modern world. Its greatest challenge will be to remain a vital, meaningful honor without becoming a museum piece, a beautiful but empty shell. How does an institution built on medieval oaths and royal prerogative speak to a society increasingly skeptical of inherited privilege and secret rituals? The answer lies not in abandoning its core, but in reinterpreting its timeless ideals for a new century. The appointment of more individuals from fields beyond politics and the military, such as science, the arts, or humanitarian work, could be a powerful evolution. This would not dilute the Garter's prestige, but would instead declare that chivalric service in the 21st century wears many different uniforms. The definition of loyalty to the crown could expand to encompass those who demonstrate profound loyalty to the betterment of humanity itself. The arrival of a new sovereign will always be a pivotal moment, a test of the Order's resilience. Each monarch brings their own vision and values to the role of sovereign of the Garter. A future king or queen might choose to accelerate this process of modernization, using the honor to recognize a wider, more diverse tapestry of national life. They hold the sole power to decide who enters the circle, and their choices will write the next chapter of the Order's story, signaling what the monarchy itself wishes to champion. Yet, even as the faces under the plumed hats change, the ancient mysteries must remain inviolate. The secret installation in the throne room, the whispered oath, the private chapter meetings, these are the non-negotiable heart of the institution. It is this very secrecy that generates its enduring power and mystique. In a world of relentless transparency and social media oversharing, the Garter's refusal to divulge its most sacred rites is a radical act. It preserves a space for a promise that exists beyond public performance, a bond that is purely about personal honor and duty. The Order's survival may well depend on this paradox, embracing a more inclusive and publicly relevant membership while fiercely guarding the private, unchanging rituals that give that membership its ultimate meaning. Can the circle hold its ancient shape while allowing new kinds of light to enter? The Blue Garter has survived wars, reformation, and revolution. Its greatest test may be simply to remain a secret worth keeping. From the king's gallant gesture to the ghostly nights in the castle corridors, we have walked through 670 years of unbroken tradition. We have stood at the threshold of the throne room, imagining the secret installation where a whispered oath binds a new knight for life. We have felt the weight of the golden collar and understood the silent sermon of the Garter Star. We have seen how a simple blue ribbon became a tool of immense political power, weaving a web of loyalty and diplomacy that stretches across the globe. This journey reveals an institution that is both magnificently public and profoundly private, a living paradox where medieval chivalry must constantly negotiate its place in a modern world. So why does this ancient order continue to hold us in its thrall? Perhaps because it represents a rare and powerful constant in a rapidly changing society. In an age of fleeting digital connections, the Garter offers a vision of a promise that is meant to last forever, a bond of loyalty that is not just spoken, but ceremonially sealed and physically worn. It connects us to a tangible chain of history, a story written in velvet, gold, and stone. It is a reminder that some mysteries are not meant to be fully solved, only respected from a distance. As the sun sets, casting long shadows across the ancient stones of St. George's Chapel, the banners of 1,000 knights seem to stir in the twilight. This is more than a history lesson. It is an invitation to wonder. What is the greatest historical secret that captivates you? Share your thoughts in the comments below and subscribe to continue unraveling the enduring mysteries of our past.